everyone. Welcome back to the Movie Studio, and today I'm here to talk about Spider Man Brand New Day, the latest edition of the Tom Holland Spider Man movies. We waited 4.5 years to get the next movie, and it was definitely worth the wait. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I was a little worried because the last time I waited 3.5 years for something, which was season 5 of Stranger Things, I came out pretty disappointed by it overall. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. So I was just kind of worried that the appeal of Spider-Man would have worn off and that it just wouldn't hit the same, was kind of my worry about it. But I was very, very pleasantly wrong by that, because to me it felt like Spider-Man was better than ever, and I think waiting the 4.5 years that we did, in my opinion, made the movie better, because I think we got a more mature Spider-Man. We got what I think is Tom Holland's best performance yet in a movie, and what overall I think is the strongest Tom Holland Spider-Man that they have put out. Just my opinion, because obviously Homecoming was really good. No Way Home was also really good. I didn't care for Far From Home as much. But, again, all four, though, movies have been good. And I really like the saga, the Tom Holland saga that they have put together here. And this movie just really makes me realize how good Tom Holland is in this role and how good of a Spider-Man he is. He's just really, really good at the role. After watching him in The Odyssey, I think he was good in there too, but I think he is Spider-Man. And I think when you're watching him in a different role other than Spider-Man, you're just not going to feel the same type of way. And I think that's where a lot of the criticism from his performance came from in The Odyssey. He just played a different character too, a character with just not as much emotion, kind of wooden. And I think he played Telemachus really well. It's just obviously not the same as Peter Parker, which we're used to seeing him in. Obviously, after Doctor Strange's spell, the big question was, how would they deal with the ramifications of everyone forgetting that Peter exists? And I thought they handled it pretty well. They have several things where you just feel the pain that Ned and MJ don't know who Peter is. You just feel that, and you really wish things could be different and that things can work out. Now, what I do like about the movie is that they didn't rush anything. I felt like they let everything play out perfectly. They didn't try to rush, them finding out who he was halfway through the movie or something just to rush it all together by the end. They let things play out. The movie, it had a good runtime. I think maybe they could have maybe trimmed some stuff, but you can say that about every movie. Thunderbolts that came out last year, I think, was actually overall did really well with their runtime. I think this did really well with their runtime too. Sure, you could have found probably some things to shave off, some things towards the middle. I thought once they introduced Jean Grey, though, Sadie Sink did an outstanding performance here, by the way. I think once they introduced her, I think the movie really got rolling, and I got really invested in it after that. But that first half, it's just a lot of setup, a lot of introducing us into what's Peter's life like now. We get to meet the new detective, Day Wolf. We get to see that he's with the Punisher, aka Frank Castle. And it was so funny to see, just in the Odyssey, the actors, they had a good amount of scenes together. Their characters did, Telemachus, and I honestly don't remember the character that John Bernthal played in the Odyssey. It's not coming to my mind right now. But they had several scenes together in that, so it was really cool to see them interact again here, and I really like that. We also got Yelena, which I gotta say, Yelena is really growing on me as a character. I didn't really care for her in Black Widow, but Thunderbolts really redeemed her in my eyes. So we got to see her in this, and obviously we're seeing her in Doomsday coming out in December, because they put her in the trailer several times. So I'm really looking forward to that. But her role was really funny in this, when she's just in the big hot tub or the pool or whatever she was in, talking with Peter. That whole scene was really funny. She's really good at that comedic timing too, that kind of dark, dry humor. She's really good at it. Of course, we have the Department of Damage Control director, Bill Metzger. He wasn't a bad villain, but, just kind of your standard villain, nothing special. And a lot of these villains, sometimes they're just not the signature piece. Obviously, you think at first the main villain is Gene, and then you kind of realize it's this guy by the end. And that really wasn't what the movie was about, was taking down a bad guy, really. The movie had a different focus. It was a movie about grief and figuring out that you don't want to do it alone. Coming to that realization, a really important realization for Peter, that he can't live alone. He can't do this alone. Realizing that from his aunt. And I do really like how they tied that message together by the end. I do think the movie kind of struggled to get there. I think they spent a lot of time, on just some stuff that I think was stretched out a little bit too long. But I really think once the movie introduced Gene, I think the movie really got rolling. And Sadie Sink did an outstanding job here. I mean, out of every actor from Stranger Things, I mean, I know that David Harbour is Red Guardian, but out of all the kid actors, she definitely has the best future set out for her. It was just announced this past weekend that she's going to be in the X-Men movie coming out in 2028, and she's most likely going to be in Secret Wars coming out in 2027. So she's stacked. She's got her future laid out for her in Marvel, and she's going to do really good at it. And honestly, she deserves it, because she carried season 4 of Stranger Things to me. And even though I didn't care for season 5, I still think her performance was one of the stronger components about it, for sure. We also got Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner, aka the Hawk, in the movie, and he did really good too. I really like the cast that they put together for the movie, to be honest. I think it balanced the characters that we know are true to the Spider-Man franchise, and then you added in, you had Yelena in as a cameo, you had the Punisher in there too, and you had Bruce Banner, and then you added in Jean Grey. I think the cast overall worked really well together. It didn't feel too big either. It didn't feel too much of a grand scale either. Like, I felt like the movie stayed somewhat grounded overall. I mean, I know you introduced the whole damage control as like the bad guys here, as like your villains, and some of that stuff maybe could have been, it was a little sloppy. I thought some of that whole thing. I'm never a big fan of corporations being the big bad. It feels a little bit overused. I really prefer the personal stuff. That's what I really liked about Thunderbolts. Or even in, I know it's DC, but even in Superman, they made Lex Luthor the bad guy. And sure, you kind of had a corporation or organization behind it, but Lex Luthor was just such a strong villain that he really carried the opposition to Superman for me. And here, you could debate, was Jean the villain? Was Metzger the villain? Was it just overall the Department of Damage Control being the villain? Ultimately, I think it was the last option that I said was what ended up being the true villain of the movie. I think what really ended up working was seeing the trauma that Jean has about the Damage Control taking her sister away, seeing what she went through, and then Peter letting Jean into his mind to experience this really emotional, comforting moment with his aunt, realizing that they can't do this alone, and really drawing that parallel there, and seeing Peter do that for her, and then at the end seeing Jean breathe for him as he's laying in the hospital bed was a really powerful moment, I think, and I really like that parallel and that relationship that they built there without making it a romantic relationship. And to me, I didn't feel like the romance took over the movie. I felt like the romance really felt grounded here. Obviously, Peter and MJ, they're broken up considering everything that happened. She has a new boyfriend, but they do get their kiss because that just had to happen in the movie, right? I mean, you couldn't have a movie without Tom and Zendaya kissing. It just wasn't going to happen. Of course, the kiss ends up being her mind being possessed by Jean, of course. We find that out later, but of course it was super heartbreaking to see her tell him that she didn't love him. Obviously, every fan, even of them in real life, had to have their heart had to have dropped a bit during that scene. It was a really hard scene to witness, but by the end, you can definitely tell that these two will work their stuff out. But I really like how they ended it with Peter and Ned. I thought that was a really nice way to end it, rather than them ending with anything else. I really like that they tied it back to that friendship. I think it worked really well for that to be the last scene of the movie. Now, obviously the Punisher was your comedic relief here, but there were some funny moments too from Yelena. She had some good one-liners there too about the potatoes and stuff. I cracked up over that. But I mean, John Bernthal, he plays the same type of role, just that like loudmouth, brash, kind of cop type dude. He plays the same role in every movie. I mean, he plays the Punisher extremely well. I really thought he did a good job in the Punisher special that came out over the summer a couple months ago. I think he did really good in there, portraying the grief there too. Obviously, here you don't see that; you just kind of see him as the comedic relief in that same character type role. But it was funny to see him and Peter's banter, him playing a foil to Spider Man. I thought was really needed, especially with the whole message of Peter being alone. I think having that person for him, even it being the Punisher of all people, I thought worked really well. And my dad's a big fan of the Punisher too, so he really enjoyed his role in it. Again, I like how they included characters that we're used to as well. And the Punisher, the Hawk, Yelena. I really liked how they included those characters in here while building your new cast too, setting up Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. And I don't really know what they'll do with the Metzger guy. Obviously, there's going to be another Spider-Man movie for sure. The question is, how many more Spider-Man movies are they going to do? And I think they'll do at least one more with Tom Holland. Now, I'm going to assume that Tom Holland will show up in either Doomsday or Secret Wars. It's hard to say which of the two he'll show up in, but I think they're going to do one more movie for him. I know I read something somewhere that he's thinking about passing the baton to someone else to play the next Spider-Man. I mean, totally valid. I mean, he's probably getting a little... I mean, he did say it's changed his life, playing Spider-Man, and he's always grateful for it. But I think he's ready to probably... I mean, he's thinking about passing the baton. I think he'll do one more movie, and then I think we'll get our next Spider-Man. But either way, these movies that he's done, they're so special, and I do think that Brand New Day was overall the best film. It didn't feel rushed. I felt like they told a really good story about grief, realizing that you can't be alone, you can't live this world alone, introducing Jean, making that connection between her and Peter, and obviously, keeping our favorite characters into the mix as well. I think it's the best Spider-Man movie of the Tom Holland ones that they've done. So let me know down below, what do you think? Where does it rank in your personal ranking of the 4 Spider-Man movies? And yeah, so let me know down below your thoughts on that. Thanks everyone for listening to my review, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye everyone.